found out she was dead is I just started screaming.
Murdered in Mexico.
My goal is the monster who murdered my daughter doesn't have a chance to murder anybody else's.
Her boyfriend claims it was a narco execution.
The cartel have the control of everything.
Canadians would like to know what is being done to bring justice to Kiara Agnew.
We go back to the scene of the crime.
These are all hotel rooms. How did nobody hear this?
To try to find out who killed Kiara.
Whoever committed this horrible act had a lot of rage.
Words to describe myself.
Kiara Agnew's diary.
I'm kind, loyal, funny, spontaneous,
Is a roadmap of the young woman she is.
adventurous, independent, loving.
And the woman she aspires to be.
I want to be strong and powerful. I want to surf oceans and climb mountains. Nothing will hold me back from living my life to the fullest when I am young.
She writes down dreams that stretch years into the future.
My goal is to cross all of these places off my bucket list by my 35th birthday. The happiest days of my life are right around the corner.
This is CTV News.
We begin with the suspected murder of a BC woman only hours after she arrived in Mexico.
Mexican prosecutors have confirmed she was found dead at a resort south of Cancun on Friday.
March 3rd, 2023, at the 5-star Grand Sunset Princess Hotel. Kiara Agnew was found beaten to death. Her body discovered in a resort laundry room.
Un turista extranjero originario de Canadá fue detenido como presunto responsable de un feminicidio.
Her boyfriend, Ryan Friesen, was immediately taken into custody and charged with femicide, Mexico's most serious charge involving violence against women.
Oh, it's horrible. It's horrible.
Back in Canada, Kiara's father, Trevor, was gutted by grief.
Her eyes would light right up so bright, and it'd almost blind you. No, she was quite the girl.
Put your picture away. I can't look at you while I'm lying.
Before Kiara's death in Mexico, her life was anchored here. Dawson Creek, British Columbia, mile 0 of the Alaska Highway, population 13,000. Tiana Agnew says all her big sister ever wanted was to see the world.
Kiara's wanted to travel since she was little, like very little. Her first stop was Mexico. Like she would have a countdown. She sent me little videos of her at the airport, really excited. You could see her view from the airplane. Even when she got to the resort, she was super excited and sent me little clips.
This is the last video Kiara sent.
We just got situated in our room. And we're gonna go get some food and then head to the beach.
Just hours later, Kiara would be dead. And her boyfriend, Ryan Friesen, would be at this jail outside Playa del Carmen behind bars.
That's when I found out she was dead. I just started screaming. I knew what was gonna happen, and I should have done more.
At this courthouse in Playa del Carmen, 18 months after her murder, Ryan Friesen stood trial. This short video captures him entering the courtroom. The prosecutor texted updates to Kiara's family.
Yesterday, Ryan's defense presented one expert, which presented his theory on the case. And he mentioned that for him, there are 3 or 4 people involved in the matter.
Ryan's lawyer argued there was unknown DNA under Kiara's fingernails. Then the prosecutor messaged this.
Today we continue with the trial and present 6 witnesses, and it went very well for us. Everyone pointed to Ryan.
What did the prosecutor say to you about the case against Ryan Friesen?
Oh, he said it was a slam dunk. It was an open and shut case. He said the evidence pointed at only him. There was nothing else that would indicate there was anybody else involved.
One of the key pieces of evidence against Ryan Friesen was Kiara's own diary, detailing a history of abuse. We haven't seen the full diary, but some of the pages have been shared with us.
He choked me and hit my head against his wood bed frame several times. I laid in a fetal position on my side. He grabbed my hair hard and smacked me hard against the side of my face. He kept getting angrier. He went to his side and passed out. The next day, he didn't even remember it. It's scary. He scares me.
In that resort laundry room in Mexico, laying next to Kiara's dead body, Ryan Friesen was found passed out with alcohol in his system.
Sorry. I have a lot of guilt. She needed me and I really failed her.
Tiana, who Kiara called Tinky, was extremely close to her big sister.
Hope you're having a good day, Tinky. I love you. I am on my lunch. This is just a friendly little reminder that I love you.
They shared everything, including Kiara's darkest secrets. Family members testified against Ryan about the alleged abuse.
We weren't allowed in the room other than to testify.
So no one from your family got a chance to watch and hear the testimony of other people?
No. And I was told later that he asked that we not be in there.
What was that like for you to get up on the stand and look across and see Ryan sitting there?
It was awful. He grinned at me the entire time. His eye contact was unwavering. He didn't show any remorse.
At the judge-only trial, the verdict was delivered in September 2024, 18 months after Kiara's murder.
I found out about the verdict through Facebook.
Ryan Friesen, not guilty.
For him to be let out, it was just awful. Now I have to worry about running into him when I'm with my son.
The judge agreed with the defense expert testimony that there were multiple DNA profiles found and that Kiara's injuries were too severe for one person to have committed the crime.
There was too much evidence against him for it to go that quick and that easy. There's just questions, like, and there's only one person that has the answers to them, and he's keeping them to himself.
Justice for Kiara! Justice for Kiara!
We've had protests in Vancouver, in Calgary, in Edmonton. We've had them in New Brunswick. We want Mexico to see that there's people from all over Canada, and we're watching.
We're sending it straight to Mexico. Thank you guys so much. I love your posters.
Protests sparked by a judge's verdict declaring Ryan Friesen not guilty of murdering his girlfriend, Kiara Agnew.
My name is Trevor Agnew. My daughter was murdered in Mexico 8 days before her 24th birthday.
There have been social media blasts. Letter writing campaigns. And candlelight vigils.
My goal is that the monster who murdered my daughter doesn't have a chance to murder anybody else's. The pain that I go through, I don't wish on anybody.
These protests, organized largely by Trevor's sister, Tanya. Kiara's dad, sister, and Aunt Tanya say Kiara wrote these words in her diary. "If I'm ever missing or found dead, you know who did it."
This is in one of her diaries, and I believe that she has said it to a few of her friends. And anytime I get frustrated that nobody's hearing us, I think of these words. And you best believe that until my last day on this earth, I will be honoring that child's words. And if it wasn't him, I'm going to find who did it.
The protests have followed Ryan Friesen to the arena where he plays hockey. He's back in Dawson Creek, British Columbia, living with his father. As the story of the murder and the verdict spread, Kiara's Aunt Tanya claims ex-girlfriends started reaching out.
They're telling us all the same story. Like, all the things that Kiara has in her diary, we're hearing the same words. We're hearing the same stories. That he gets drunk, that he blacks out, and that he's very abusive.
We combed through court records and found Ryan was charged with assaulting a girlfriend in 2018, resulting in a peace bond. He has no criminal record. Years later, Kiara would document her body as evidence. Bruises, black eyes, scratches. And this injury that Kiara's stepfather, Ricky, says happened trying to escape from Ryan's pickup truck.
She'd had to jump out of a moving vehicle. We had talked on different occasions about his abuse, and I said to her, like, "You're gonna get killed."
You actually said that to her, that you were worried she was going to die?
Yeah, because it was escalating.
In the months before her murder, Kiara's birth father, Trevor, tried to intervene.
She said, "I don't want you involved, it only happens when he drinks, and we're gonna quit drinking." And she reassured me that it wasn't happening because they wasn't drinking.
Tiana was so scared, she warned her big sister that she was going to end up dead. Tiana believes Kiara stayed in the relationship because of a shared grief. Both had lost brothers, Kiara in 2020, Ryan in 2010.
They trauma bonded in a way, like he could understand her because they both lost a sibling in a way that no one else could. So she was very hesitant to leave him.
While Kiara's family was initially united in the very public demand for justice,
I'd like to ask you to please rise as the family comes to join us.
by the time her small funeral was held, the family was fracturing.
Our family's never really bounced back from everything that's happened. A lot of us don't speak.
Kiara's parents are divorced, and the family divide is playing out on dueling Facebook pages. One run by Kiara's father, Trevor, and his sister, Tanya. This one set up by Kiara's mother, Michelle, and her sister, Caitlin. There are very public accusations and arguments over how donated money is being spent and who gets Kiara's ashes.
It's so heartbreaking. The Friesen family's nothing if not strategic. And they could see that fracture because they have been watching both of our pages, right?
In the midst of that rift and the protests, more than 2 years after Kiara's murder, Ryan Friesen held a private meeting at this hotel in Dawson Creek. Sitting around this table, Ryan, his father Grant, and just one side of Kiara's feuding family, her mother Michelle and Aunt Caitlin. A neutral member of the family was also invited, Kiara's stepfather, Ricky.
I was very, very tense in the beginning. I'm sitting across from the man who was accused of killing my daughter. I had to put aside my hatred because he was found not guilty in Mexico, and so I wanted to hear what they had to say.
Ricky is the only person who was in that room who agreed to meet me. He says the motive was clear: stop the protests.
Everybody was harassing him, and he wanted to basically sway us in his direction that he was innocent and he wants his life back.
For the first time since Kiara was murdered, Ryan Friesen told some of her family members what he claimed happened at the resort on March 3rd, 2023. His story so convincing, some left the room now believing in his innocence. According to Kiara's stepdad, Ricky, Ryan claims after hours of drinking at the resort sports bar, he and Kiara walked back to their room at about midnight.
Ryan admitted to having an argument when they got to the hotel room. And he said that she wanted to do pictures and they argued about that, so he went to bed. Then he woke up a couple of hours later and said that Kiara was missing. Then he said that he left the hotel room and he heard her screaming.
Kiara's stepdad says Ryan claimed to have followed the sounds of her screams to a laundry room.
He beat on the door was locked. He said that somebody opened the door. And he said that she was sitting there on the floor and holding her private, saying that she was raped. And he said that there was 3 to 4 people in the room.
But wait, so he claims that she was alive in that laundry room?
He said he heard her screaming and said that she was alive when he found her.
But Ricky says no matter how many times he asked, Ryan couldn't answer one vital question. What happened next?
He couldn't explain to me how he got from the door to laying on the floor next to her, and he wouldn't answer me that question. I asked 3 times. I'm sorry, if my girlfriend if that's happening and somebody's in there and she's claiming that they're raped, I'm not gonna just lay down on the floor next to her and go to sleep. I'm gonna fight for her and my life.
There was a special guest at that meeting as well. Ryan's lawyer was flown in from Mexico. Even asking Ricky about it sets him on edge.
I don't want to say about that. Because I just...
Why?
Well, they asked me not to say anything about him being there.
Why?
Because they didn't want him to be harmed. They're trying to instill, I don't know whether it's a little bit of fear to not bring it up.
And what is the story that's being told by Ryan and his team about who's responsible potentially for this crime?
They're trying to say that it was cartel, that the actual resort owed the cartel money and wouldn't pay them, and they made an example by finding somebody and doing this to them.
He says the Mexican lawyer told them that DNA evidence proves Ryan Friesen did not commit the crime.
It wasn't Ryan's DNA under Kiara's fingernails. That did it for Caitlin.
Did you see the DNA evidence that they told you about?
Everything is in Mexican. All I had to go off of is what people were telling me.
It was enough for Kiara's Aunt Caitlin and her mother Michelle. Caitlin did a very public about face on Ryan Friesen's guilt. First, this lengthy Facebook post. And then she went on local television thanking and apologizing to Ryan.
Thank you for allowing us to speak, to heal, and I want to say that I am sorry on behalf of the other members of my family that are continuing this hate campaign because it's so misguided and it's going in the wrong direction.
When I left that meeting, I didn't want to say he was guilty or innocent until I had a chance to read the Bible, is what they call the court document, is the Bible. And Michelle has since gotten the Bible, but she doesn't want to give it to me until I promise that it won't go to Trevor, because again, the fight between the families.
Neither Kiara's mother, Michelle, nor Caitlin agreed to participate in our investigation. They also refused to share the so-called Bible with us.
Not having that evidence from the trial is a roadblock in our investigation, but it's not a dead end. We do have other leads to follow. The prosecutor's text messages offer insight into the judge's reasons for the verdict. The injuries he has on his fists and body do not correspond to the injuries on Kiara. That he considered the death was carried out by 2 or more people because she was badly beaten. And then he makes mention of the presence of the genetic profiles of several people, including Ryan's. Now, that's a pretty vague statement that we can't dig into because we don't have the full DNA report. But we do have photographs from when Ryan was arrested, and we also have photos from Kiara's autopsy.
Whoever committed this horrible act on this poor 23-year-old woman had a lot of rage.
Dave Perry, chairman of Investigative Solutions Network, is a former Toronto homicide investigator, an expert on violent crime and murder. He isn't able to review all the evidence because no one with the case file will share it with us, but he has analyzed photos of Kiara and Ryan's injuries.
All of her injuries are, supportive of somebody that was beaten horribly. And his injuries would match that kind of an attack. I noticed on all of his fingernails, they were just soaked up in the ridges here. His hands appear to be swollen in both pictures. Those are not consistent with defense wounds, but are consistent with somebody using their hands and fists and striking and making blows.
The elbows and bruised shins, the bloody feet.
These are the kind of bruises I would expect to see, quite frankly, if you're kicking somebody.
Kiara's autopsy is devastating to read. Almost every inch of her body was brutalized. Chipped teeth, black eyes, ears, neck. Almost every vital organ damaged. A beating so violent that Kiara's brain stem was detached from her spinal cord.
The judge made his assumption that there's no way that one person commit that level of violence. The level of violence by an angry partner is probably some of the worst violence I've ever seen. And this doesn't surprise me in terms of the level of violence. It's actually in keeping with a lot of domestic homicides that I've seen over the years.
But it is possible that the evidence we don't have access to tells a different story. Could narcos have been involved in Kiara's killing? Headlines show tourists are not immune from cartel violence. And Canada has a travel advisory about being in the wrong place at the wrong time. And so we head to Mexico to meet with the Sinaloa Cartel to put Ryan Friesen's claims to the test.
When Kiara took her first steps on Mexican soil and was making her way through this airport, she'd never been out of the country before, never left Canada. And her diary paints a picture of a young woman desperate for travel, to see the world.
The Princess Hotel in Playa del Carmen was meant to be a celebration for Kiara Agnew and her boyfriend, Ryan Friesen, her first trip, her 24th birthday. This is where Kiara's body was found. Using police witness statements, we get the name of the paramedic dispatched to the resort. 3 years later, Victor Gomez is still traumatized by what he saw.
Honestamente estaba irreconocible. Todo el rostro estaba.
He says she was unrecognizable. Her face was covered with blood.
Ella ya no tenía vida. Era imposible hacer algo por ella.
There's no way he could have saved her, he says. She was dead when he got there.
I've seen the autopsy photos. I know what you saw. I want to show you what she looks like alive.
Era muy bonita. Se veía muy feliz.
She was beautiful and looked so happy, he says. That's not how I remember her.
Feliz a la persona que yo había encontrado.
At the Princess Resort, I've booked into the room Kiara and Ryan stayed in back in 2023. There have been renovations since, but Kiara's last video was made from this balcony.
We just got situated in our room. And we're gonna go get some food and then head to the beach.
Less than 12 hours after checking in, she would be found dead in this laundry room with Ryan Friesen asleep beside her.
A map is the easiest way to get a sense of the layout of this resort. Kiara and Ryan's room was in building number 7. All the way down here in building number 2 is where Kiara's body was found in the laundry room.
The night Kiara was killed started here. Surveillance cameras from inside the bar show them leaving at midnight. Everything that happened next is what Kiara's stepdad says Ryan told him at that meeting in Dawson Creek. Ryan and Kiara went back to their room, had an argument. He fell asleep, and when he woke up at about 2:30 in the morning, Kiara was gone, that he followed the sounds of her screams.
I want to count how many steps there are between Kiara's hotel room and where she was found. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
At the same time of night, 3 years later, we're retracing the route.
16. These are all hotel rooms. How did nobody hear this?
A 6-minute walk down 2 flights of stairs.
412, 413, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 424 steps between the hotel room and the laundry room where Kiara was found. If Kiara was running to try to get away from someone, she almost made it. The bar is right over there. It's open 24 hours a day.
At this church in Playa del Carmen, the man who made the gruesome discovery tells me exactly what he saw. He was the cleaner at the resort. He no longer works there and doesn't want to appear on camera. On March 3rd, 2023, at 2:55 in the morning, he was dispatched to clean up a mess in the hallway. It was blood.
Había mucha sangre.
The cleaner drew this diagram and said there was blood over here, which is this wall. He said it looked as though this is maybe where Kiara's head had been slammed into the wall. There was blood also over here, and that this area was filled with blood, and it looked as though there was a struggle here. And Kiara's shoe was right here by the partially open door.
Remember how Kiara's stepdad, Ricky, said Ryan beat on the door? Well, the cleaner says the door had no lock. He says he found Ryan and Kiara laying side by side, his feet at her head, and that Kiara was fully clothed.
Sí, ella sí estaba vestida.
He says Kiara was lifeless and that they had to shake Ryan to wake him up. Barefoot, the cleaner says Ryan was clearly drunk and tried to run up the stairs, but was captured and held until police arrived. He says Ryan was screaming and crying and that he heard police say he's still drunk but starting to remember what he did. The cleaner testified at Ryan Friesen's trial. We also tracked down another witness who testified.
He's coming to the palapa.
Okay.
The security guard on duty that night. He tells me there isn't one security camera in any of the hallways. He's also surprised Ryan Friesen was found not guilty because he says he was the only person there. We've obtained these police documents, which include a handwritten statement from the first police officer on the scene, describing Ryan as having bloodstains on his clothing, hands, and feet. This medical certificate notes Ryan tested positive for alcohol, but negative for drugs. And this is a diagram of cuts on the right hand and foot, swelling of the left hand, and a bite mark on the right hand. Playa del Carmen sits in cartel territory. Violence here follows rules. The powerful Sinaloa Cartel has a firm grip on the Mayan Riviera.
The cartel have the control of everything.
Alberto has been a member of the Sinaloa Cartel for decades. He knows the narco rulebook inside and out.
If the cartel wants to send a message to a big resort, does the cartel ever target tourists?
En este caso, en un hotel no se ataca turistas.
He says in a case like this, tourists are not attacked, that the only time foreigners are harmed is if they're caught in the crossfire or if they're doing business with the cartel. I tell him about Ryan Friesen's claims.
He says it was the cartel that came in and killed this young woman in the resort as punishment for the hotel because they didn't pay the cartel tax.
No, that's a lie. That's a lie. The cartel don't get in the hotels. And I know that story. But no, that's a lie.
That's a lie.
The cartel had nothing to do with that.
He knows the story because he was in jail at the same time Ryan was in detention. All the inmates were talking about the Canadian accused of killing his girlfriend at a resort.
When one cartel carries out an execution or sends a message, do all the cartels know?
Todos saben qué está haciendo el otro.
He says every cartel knows when the other is sending a message. It's very public, not hidden in a laundry room on a resort in the middle of the night.
Is he in danger if he comes back to Mexico making this claim?
Sí puede haber.
Yes, he says there could be direct repercussions against him.
You are gonna make me cry.
Kiara Agnew in life was unrecognizable in death. The photos of what was done to her are too horrifying to share. Dr. Salvador Miguel Martinez says he was consulted by one of Ryan Friesen's lawyers for his medical opinion on Kiara's autopsy.
This is the autopsy, right?
He says it was thorough and well prepared.
Is it possible, with the injuries that she had, that she would be alive after that beating to scream and say, I've been raped?
Pues es materialmente imposible.
Impossible.
Imposible.
Is there any evidence that she was raped?
Jamás hablan de que hayan encontrado evidencias de agresión sexual en ella.
They don't state finding evidence of sexual assault. We asked him about this blood spatter report.
Aquí directamente está diciendo.
Here it directly states, he says, there was projection blood. Ryan was standing when Kiara's blood splashed onto him. And then he asks a surprising question.
Él sigue detenido, ¿no? ¿Real? No.
He's asking if he's still in jail.
He had no idea of the verdict until this very moment.
Ryan was found not guilty.
Ryan fue encontrado inocente.
Does that surprise you?
¿Te sorprende?
Sí, sí me sorprende porque... Bueno, me sorprende.
He appears shaken as he says he's surprised by the verdict. Julio Cesar Solares is a journalist in the Mayan Riviera who covers crime and corruption. He says there are red flags about this case.
Me llamó la atención de ese caso en particular porque fue muy corto.
Solares says it's unusual for a case to go from murder to verdict in just 18 months. Usually, he says, the process is much longer, between 5 to 8 years. He points to the case of an American woman, Sativa Transu, who was beaten to death in a Cancun hotel a year and a half before Kiara's murder. Her boyfriend, charged with femicide in 2021, still has not had a trial. Femicide is one of the most serious crimes in Mexico.
The crime is basically the killing of a woman because of her gender.
Silvana Sanchez is a criminal lawyer recently hired by Kiara's father, Trevor. Canada's justice system is based on the principle of innocent until proven guilty. It's something that Mexico has only adopted relatively recently.
Up until 2008, anyone who was accused of a crime was considered guilty.
Was considered guilty, yes.
And how does that impact the way police and forensics and investigations are done in murder cases?
Unfortunately, as any other legal system, Mexico's system has their flaws. And one of them I consider is that we are still like in baby steps in an investigation and preserving the evidence. So it's necessary for a lawyer to help or to assist and provide or take care of all the essential elements in a case in order for that to be successful.
Kiara's family did not have legal representation at Ryan Friesen's trial. Since Friesen was found not guilty, he can't be tried again for the murder of Kiara Agnew. But in Mexico, there's a process where a judge's verdict can be appealed.
How unusual would it be to overturn a not guilty verdict?
It will be really, really rare.
Really rare?
Yeah, also considering the time frames that already passed.
It's discouraging news for some of Kiara's family. But then...
So Tanya, I have never seen anything like this in my career.
Well, that is an opening statement.
Every week, senior officials from the state police, the military, and the prosecutor's office take questions from the media here. I told them in advance that I'd be coming with questions about the killing of Kiara.
Continuamos con Avery Haines.
This is 23-year-old Kiara Agnew. And Canadians would like to know today what is being done to bring justice to Kiara Agnew.
Sí, en el marzo de 2023 hubo un feminicidio donde se encontró.
Tenemos la seguridad.
A trial judge found him not guilty, but the deputy prosecutor for the state is saying that she believes it was established beyond any reasonable doubt that the crime was committed by Ryan.
During
the trial, she says, we were able to establish that Ryan violently beat Kiara to death. Through witness testimony, expert reports, and scientific evidence, we established he was responsible. And then the state prosecutor drops a bombshell. An independent magistrate is right now reviewing the not guilty verdict. She says she's confident the verdict will be overturned, that Ryan Friesen will be declared guilty and brought back to Mexico to be sentenced for what she calls this deeply deplorable act against Kiara. After the news conference, Mexican reporters pepper me with questions about what Canada is doing with the case.
The Canadian authorities.
This is a crime that occurred in Mexico, and it was Mexico's responsibility to bring justice.
I'm called into the private office of State Deputy Prosecutor Aroshi Lugo Arana.
Entonces esperemos que este fallo.
She wants Kiara's family to know that she believes there will be news on the verdict early in 2026.
If the magistrate comes back and says guilty, what is the process next for having Ryan returned to Mexico? And what is the punishment that he will face if it is a guilty verdict?
Ser un delito de feminicidio.
Because this is a charge of femicide, she says, Ryan Friesen would face up to 50 years behind bars. And if the verdict is overturned, there would be international cooperation to return Ryan to Mexico.
Para poder presentar ante la justicia mexicana pues al procesado Ryan.
It's a head-spinning turn of events. I video call Kiara's Aunt Tanya, the driving force behind the protests across Canada.
The prosecutor said Ryan Friesen is guilty of murder, that he beat her to death at the resort.
You said that on camera or to you?
On camera.
Oh my God.
She has every confidence that the magistrate is going to make a decision to revoke the not guilty verdict, and that Ryan Friesen will be brought back to Mexico to serve up to 50 years in jail.
Oh my God. That acknowledgement means everything. Even, I pray the magistrates agree. But that acknowledgement goes so far. So overwhelming.
From the 30-degree heat in Mexico to minus 30 in northern British Columbia, we make our way back to Dawson Creek. From the beginning, we've given Ryan Friesen every opportunity to tell his side of the story. He initially appeared open to an interview. In a text, he told me, "I have to speak with my family and some others before I can make a decision to speak to you, if that's okay." But in the ensuing months, he didn't respond to texts asking him to share the evidence that led to his not guilty verdict. He didn't reply to a request for the name of his lawyer in Mexico, our attempt to have someone speaking on his behalf. We also called Ryan's father, Grant.
Well, I just wanted to briefly talk to you in the hopes that I could get the name of your lawyer in Mexico.
You know what? I'm sorry, but you're just going down the wrong path.
I'm trying to find a way to tell.
It's really sad.
I'm trying to find a way to hear from your son's perspective.
And so we're back in Dawson Creek, trying to speak to Ryan Friesen in person. He's driving this gray pickup. He pulls over to clean off his windshield.
Hey, Ryan.
Please leave me alone.
No, we gotta talk about it.
Please leave me alone.
Ryan, we gotta talk about it. Ryan.
That approach with Ryan was weeks ago, and for months we have been trying to get somebody to speak on his behalf. And then just 6 days before broadcast, through his Canadian lawyer, he emailed us this statement.
In it, he says he feels grief and deep sadness for all of us that lost Kiara, thanking Kiara's mother and Aunt Caitlin, who followed the case closely and believe in my innocence. He claims statements to investigators referencing unidentified suspicious men near the area were not meaningfully pursued, and that basic investigation steps, such as properly canvassing nearby resort rooms, were not done.
He writes that his desire for justice is unwavering, that he hopes those who are truly responsible are held fully accountable.
His lawyer also shared this DNA report, which we had analyzed by forensic biologists at Wyndham Forensic Group in Ontario. Based on this one DNA report, they confirm Ryan Friesen's DNA was not found under Kiara's fingernails, and that one unknown male profile was found. But they say the presence or absence of DNA under fingernails doesn't prove innocence or guilt, and that it's not unusual to have foreign DNA under your fingernails. It's important to note, if Kiara Agnew was unable to put up a fight, she wouldn't have her attacker's DNA under her nails.
We often see what we describe as an overkill. You know, the person could have been dead after the first blow, but you find 50 blows.
Former Toronto homicide investigator Dave Perry says, While he doesn't have all the evidence in the case, he understands why the not guilty verdict is being appealed.
That's what shocks me, that a judge would actually look at all this evidence and accept the fact that this was perhaps cartel related, that two people had to have been there to perpetrate the crime because of the level of violence. Absolutely not.
We want the truth. That's it. And we're not going to quit until we get it.
The protests that began when a judge said not guilty are smaller now.
This is my daughter. She was murdered in Mexico.
She was murdered?
Yes. Okay, thank you guys so much. My daughter was murdered in Mexico. Do you want one to just take with you?
I'm so sorry.
Oh, thank you.
This is so hard.
Oh, no, it's horrible.
But this justice is going to give you peace.
I'm hoping if we can get it.
We just want answers. Whether he's innocent or he's guilty, I just want to know what happened that night. I just want justice for Kiara.